Aguanta música. Guck stattdessen aus in dem Shirt. Ehrlich?
Listen, gold will hit $3,000 by 2025. That's not a dream, it's Citigroup's prediction. Every day you wait is a day you can't get back. Every moment of hesitation could cost you. The signs are clear, global uncertainty is rising, and smart money is moving. The countdown to 2025 has started. Will you be the one who acted or the one who waited? Noble Gold Investments is your partner in preparation, your bridge to opportunity, your path to peace of mind. Don't wait until gold hits $3,000. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com now and get 10 1-ounce silver American Eagle coins with a qualified account. Position yourself for tomorrow's gains today. That's noblegoldinvestments.com.
Hey, Inspire Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers. It's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is Thursday, December 12th, 2024. We're healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, we're free. That's the mantra. Thank you for joining us on X, Rumble, and YouTube, being here in the live chat. My fellow pioneers, I think that is probably the most accurate term for today's subject. I want to start and put it all in a very, very beautiful, uplifting light from the beginning of the session, an uplifting bubble, because that is what we together truly are. Not to sort of pat ourselves on the back, but we're the pioneers of this generation, breaking onto new frontier, something that hasn't been really discovered and talked about in a long time, and at least not on this level. And the fact that we're all showing up every day and doing this together is incredible. I want to specifically talk about a line, a sentence, almost a dogma that's been around for these last years. And it's one of those slogans that you hear a lot. Everything you were taught is a lie. Everything you've been taught is false. Everything you know is wrong. And, in sort of memology, in our meme world, where everything is broken down, like our intro, I love the memes, but we have to understand those are memes, not dissertations. You sort of get a short snippet of something that might spark a deeper thought, but it isn't the deep thought itself usually. And so when we hear everything is a lie, that can have very detrimental effects on our psyche. But if we go through the process correctly, if we look at things from through a correct lens, if you will, or from a broader perspective, that exploration is truly the most liberating and empowering thing you could possibly do. So let's look at the layers. Let's look at the effects on the psyche. Let's look at the effects on the soul. I think it's highly important that we understand what we're going through, not just live through it, but actually understand, comprehend what this process is, and every so often take the perspective of the observer, observe yourself. So let's look at this together. What does this actually mean? Everything we know is false. So here's the first version of that. The statement, everything we have been taught is a lie or false, reflects the idea that much of what society accepts as truth through education, history, science, and cultural narratives has been shaped or manipulated by powerful entities to serve their own agendas. It suggests that history is often written by victors who distort facts, science can be influenced by those seeking to suppress knowledge or maintain control, and societal norms and beliefs are programmed to encourage conformity and discourage critical thinking. This perspective challenges individuals to question mainstream narratives, seek alternative views, and take responsibility for discerning truth, rather than passively accepting what is presented. While it doesn't imply that every detail is false, it underscores the importance of skepticism and independent inquiry. Okay, so let's ponder on that a little bit. That's the first version of everything we know is false. That's a version that a lot of people have sort of woken up to in the last years: politics, science, medicine, technology, all these things. And they are more alert, more vigilant. Their eyes are open. They can see and hear and even sense that things are off, corrupted, manipulated. That's the first perspective. And that perspective is perfectly valid and factual, but it isn't the whole picture. That is sort of the progression of seeing through the illusions. Now, a lot of people stay in this first version, and they sort of start changing their lives accordingly. And oftentimes, when they stay in this first version of everything we know is false, it leads to a cynical and oftentimes sort of jaded way of life, of looking at things, of communicating with others, of looking at reality. And it doesn't always and necessarily really empower them to expand beyond. It almost is sometimes leads to a defeatist sort of life. And that's why we think it's so important to go beyond and to go deeper than this first version. What's the second version, you might ask? Well, let's look at it together. That's the second version. The idea that our world and even higher dimensions are part of an artificial construct suggests that reality is a controlled illusion, similar to a simulation where everything from physical laws to spiritual experiences is designed to perpetuate control. Narratives of history, science, and spirituality are viewed as deliberate distortions to obscure the true nature of existence. So, thank you, Cat Cook, really, for your contribution. Higher dimensions may also serve as traps, maintaining the illusion of freedom while enforcing cycles like reincarnation and karma. Awakening involves questioning these narratives, detaching from programming, and seeking truth beyond the construct. So here we go into a much, much deeper perspective. This is where sort of the first version of everything we know is false. It used to kind of end there. Some people went deeper, but for the most part, that was what you might call a limited hangout. I don't mean this in a derogatory way. I just say that it is a limited hangout. When we go into this deeper layer, what happens is, and we're going to talk about the effects on the psyche, but what happens is that we literally begin questioning absolutely everything. Now, that doesn't mean that every little detail doesn't stand up to that questioning. Some details might, but most don't. And this is what I call a shift in baseline reality. What is baseline reality? Baseline reality is sort of our foundation on which we build our lives. Those are the things that we know, or at least we think we know. And so we build our lives on that foundation. All the decisions that we make, how we conduct ourselves in the world, how we talk with others, what we do and don't do is built on a baseline reality. Now, that foundation we usually do not question, but that's exactly what we have to do. And those who do it their baseline reality simply begins to shift, or for a certain amount of time, there is no real baseline reality because we're in a seeking and questioning process. So what does that do to the psyche? Because I think once we understand this process, it's much easier to go through it, because a lot of people are going through it as we speak. As a matter of fact, all of us are awakening. Those who say they are fully awakened, well, well, I don't think so. It's sort of it's jumping from human naivete to human arrogance. And so I would suggest that we continue the journey of awakening. But here's the effects that this process has on the psyche. Cognitive dissonance, a big one. Realizing that foundational beliefs are false can create internal conflict and mental discomfort as individuals struggle to reconcile new truths with old paradigms, right? And this is classic. You've learned something new. You are seeing the new or the truth, but your life still runs on the old paradigm. There's an internal struggle. That doesn't happen overnight. You start adjusting, but over time, if you really align with the new truth that you learned, then over time you detach and give up the old way that isn't truthful any longer in your perception. That can be painful, and that cognitive dissonance hurts until we resolve it. A sense of betrayal, that's also very common, right? There may be anger or grief upon recognizing that trusted institutions, or so-called trusted institutions, authorities, or teachings have deliberately misled you or misled them, right? So rather than just overlooking these stages, I say these stages need to be lived. They need to be experienced, right? Also, the sense of betrayal, it has a purpose when it shows up. It needs to be felt. It needs to be seen. It needs to be fully accepted. Isolation, a big one that I know many of you are experiencing. Those awakening to such ideas often feel alienated from family, friends, and society, as others may resist or dismiss these perspectives. That's a huge one. Nothing is more common over the last 4 years, 5 years, if you really count it, 5 years, than the separation of couples, families, friendships, acquaintances, friend circles. Excuse me. All of this has never happened at such a level in history before. If you will, the COVID era, the effects are still ongoing. That era has created the greatest split within society, families, and friendships, right? Never before has one event done that worldwide in such a way. But it gets better, my friends, and it will get better. Also, another effect, an existential crisis. Questioning the nature of reality and one's purpose can lead to feelings of meaninglessness or a fear of the unknown. Those are all very, very normal, if you will, reactions of our psyche. Because what is happening to our psyche during this process is, think about it this way. Until you awaken or start awakening, you, me, everyone, until we do that, we're literally NPCs. We're running on a program. That program is called our life program. Those are sort of the patterns, the decisions, the broad strokes that we decided on before we came here. Most, anyways, there are other stories, but most people went through a reincarnation cycle. They were deliberating with their guides, right? And they were writing the new story and all of that. And so they perfectly fit into this program, and there's a program that runs their lives. Within that program, they have a certain liberty to decide things, but it is the program running. And the interesting thing is that oftentimes when you live within that program, you tend to function really well within the construct. You tend to fit in well and can do the tasks that the construct wants of you because you are perfectly fitting into this program. what happens here when you awaken is that you begin questioning and overriding that program. You're stepping outside of it. And that's where a lot of the wonderful stuff begins to happen in your life. First, discomfort. We need to get really comfortable with discomfort through this process. But the more that we heal, which is it's a part of healing, the bigger, the broader our perspective and also our life becomes. So let's talk about that a little bit here. And we have a few more, but here we go into the positive effects, if you will, on the psyche. Heightened awareness. Over time, many experience a sharpening of critical thinking, deeper intuition, and an ability to perceive patterns or hidden motives. Now, you might know this, that's what people say is when they watch a movie, for example, they don't watch the movie any longer. They see the programming in the movie. They see the signs, the symbols, the hidden messages, the mind control, the deception, and whatnot. But also empowerment. Despite initial challenges, awakening often leads to a sense of liberation as individuals feel freed from manipulative systems and take greater control of their own lives and perspectives. So this is where the psyche begins or has begun to heal and begins to see the positive, the beautiful, the expansive things that happen because of an awakening. Resilience and purpose. As understanding deepens, many develop a strong sense of mission to uncover and share truth, support others on similar journeys, or work to dismantle systems of control. So basically, that's when the program begins to be overridden. But there is an entirely other layer because we are not, our psyche is, if you will, part of an operating system that we have within this avatar, within this construct. If we are conscious and aware, then we direct the psyche and we have literally control over it. And so we are not victims of its reactions, but we're actually in charge of it. And then we can use its intricacies and its little subtleties and programs to serve us and the greater good. But there is another, of course, a much greater layer of who we are, which you could call the soul, right? And the soul has, an incredible importance in our lives when we start overriding the matrix program. And here are the effects on the soul. The liberation from illusions, the soul begins to disentangle from false constructs, regaining a clearer connection to its authentic essence and divine origins. So this is when oftentimes for people it feels like while they're still in a program, there's this voice, there's this feeling, subtle, quiet feeling deep inside somewhere that wants to be heard, wants to be seen. But the programming, the layers of trauma, the layers of false belief systems, they act as a very, very thick buffer. So while the soul is there and while its signals might be there, while we live under the programming, we have a hard time really understanding the signals and actually acting upon them. As we deprogram or as we transcend the programming, we hear much more of it and the soul becomes more active as a sort of captain, if you will. Deep inner healing, awareness of the construct can bring buried traumas, fears, or karmic cycles to the surface for resolution, aiding in spiritual purification and growth, right? So this is what begins then to happen. And it is not something that happens overnight, but once we feel soul again, which also in process allows us to connect to spirit, which in my understanding, I should say, are two connected but separate things. But once that begins to happen, we live a much more self-directed life. Enhanced awareness, the soul becomes more attuned to higher truths, gaining insight into the nature of existence and the deeper purpose of its journey, right? Reconnection with source. Awakening often inspires a longing to reconnect with the true source of creation, fostering spiritual alignment beyond the limitations of the construct. This is a big one. there is there are all these layers of spiritual experiences, but as long as our soul, and by extension our spirit, is in a state of seeking, if you will, we haven't really arrived at source, at where we, I think, all are intending to reconnect with. And so that's going to be also subject of this upcoming conversation with Isabella Green. We interviewed her yesterday. It's in the editing process. And by the way, when we say editing, we simply mean we make it look pretty and seamless, but we never edit out information. That I should say that. So that's going to be a big focal point of that conversation. I really look forward to sharing it with you, as she has great insights on that. Another effect is increased spiritual sovereignty, which I think is incredibly important. The soul asserts its independence from external control, right? Reclaiming its innate power and divine right to self-determination. And that is literally what self-reliance and freedom actually are. It's independence from external control, and the divine right to self-determination. Programmed humans in the Matrix program don't even think about that. It's not even a concept. It's not even something they contemplate. And until such a point in time where they're willing to override their existing beliefs and programs, they will not ponder these concepts. They're incapable of doing that. And of course, emission activation, which we said earlier, it's many souls feel called to assist others in awakening, to help dismantle false systems, or to contribute to collective evolution and healing. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've met anyone who is really truly in this process of awakening that isn't really wanting to assist others and be of help and support of others. I would say that is quite a good sign of a false awakening, when people still cling to this ego. Oh, I want to keep this to myself. I don't want to share this knowledge with others. It's, I don't want others to find out what I found out. That's a sort of a good sign of unawakening, if you will. Not to sound elitist in any way, but when you realize that you are at your core and your essence an infinite being, what lack could there possibly be, and how could there possibly not be enough for everyone to go around, right? So these are sort of the stages that we go through when we're going through this journey. And it is important to know that there are stages and that it is a journey. So what Christine and I have often emphasized, and we talk about in our locals community a lot, and also here, in which I repeat over and over again, to assume that we know what will happen when we reach a fifth or sixth or seventh step in a journey is a delusion. We don't. And so to think that we know what the true awakening, if you will, or what how good things can get for us, or how liberated and free things can get for us, we don't know. We also don't know how creative we can get until we actually go through these steps and take the journey. Now, what makes it, or used to make it, more challenging was that when we really first started going through this journey, Christine and I, on a deeper level together, it literally meant complete isolation beyond the two of us. There was no one around us. There was absolutely no one. And so when, after years, we met another one or maybe two other people, it was like, oh my God, they do exist. So others do see it or feel it or taste it, or and that was many years ago. And thankfully that has changed, which is why we're all here together, because now this is millions of people. And what the beautiful thing is that we only see those who are willing to declare it. How many are there who are never declaring it, who are simply going about their lives in their little circles, doing what they do and not really talking about it? So this breaking through the matrix programming is also a one-way street. In other words, I've never met someone who's gone back and said, "Hey, can you program me back?" Right? Sort of like the guy in the Matrix. Remember the first Matrix movie, the traitor on the ship that went to to Agent Smith and said, "Hey, I'm tired of this bullshit and the fighting. Can you make me? Can you give me the mind wipe? Right? The veil of forgetfulness. Can you send me through that? Make me somebody famous, somebody rich. I just want to be in the bliss of ignorance." I haven't met that person yet. As challenging and as difficult as this process can be at times, people are sticking with it because they can sense the more that their soul, that their spirit remembers who they are, the more um, authenticity, truth returns to life. Now, that all being said, we still live in this world, right? So, I mean, not just collectively, you and I, Christine and I, we live in this world. And so we have to sort of live within certain structures, and we're not fighting them. As a matter of fact, we're sort of moving through them more easily, effortlessly, because we know on a deep level that they're not real, they're not true. So we just move through them and detach from the sort of the quarrels and the bullshit as much as good as we can. We're human. Sometimes we get caught up in it, but that's sort of what begins to happen. You see this construct, you see this reality, but you don't really, it's not really real. So you can take it with a sense of humor. Sometimes it's tragic humor, but it is humor. And also with a big shaker of salt, not just a grain of salt. And ultimately, what matters most is the expansion of thought, the expansion of creation, co-creation, and the expansion of spirit. And that beautiful breaking through, eventually you eventually you land on a path that is actually, ironically, it's positive, it's life affirming, it's empowering, it's giving, because you have recalibrated to an authentic path. I would have never guessed, trust me, 15 years ago, when we really started going more public, and we wrote a book, and we had speaking engagements and did all that stuff. We would have never guessed that the discussion, that the journey was going to go this far, and that so many people were going to eventually come on board. But I want to share, and I've shared this before, and blah 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 blah. It's when the thought jumps too far ahead, my friends. So I want to share a story with you, and then I will share an invitation for a Christmas experiment. Okay, so stick around, my friends. So the story, and I've shared this before, but some of you are new here, so welcome. Um, Many years ago, I want to say 18, 17 years ago, something like that. Um, we're living in a different house, and I remember I was sitting at the dining room table. I was working on a computer, and Christine walked past me, and she was walking into the kitchen, and that distance from when she entered my, sort of my view, and to the kitchen was maybe 10, 15 feet tops. But in that instant, I had a vision. It's sort of, I was pulled into a vision of the future that to me felt like it lasted a long time. Of course, it was only really a second or two, but it lasted a long time. In that vision, I saw something. I saw the two of us, and it was shown to me that we were going to connect with and speak with millions of people, and we had neither the desire nor any idea how that would happen. We simply, I simply saw that in that vision, and that it was going to be not from a standpoint of, oh, somewhere up high on a pedestal talking to people like the gurus, but part of this community reaching millions of people, like really embedded in a family kind of, right? I had no earthly idea how that was going to come about, but as I kind of zoomed out of that vision, Christine had just reached the entry of the kitchen. To me, it had felt like an hour. I don't know. And I said, honey, we're gonna connect with millions of people. We're gonna reach millions of people. And she said, how? What? Why? I don't want to talk to millions of people. Not because she doesn't care, but that's not her nature. It's not her nature to be in the limelight or spotlight or whatever. And I said, I don't think it's a matter of want. I think it is one of those things that's sort of destined, if you will. And so in that vision, I had a way of communicating, ask questions. So I said, is there anything I need to do right now? And in the vision, I was told, no, you'll be shown in time. And it wasn't a being, an angel, or anything. It was nothing like that. It wasn't. How do I say that? It didn't have a specific agenda whatsoever. And all that I remember is hearing, you will simply know when the time is right. And believe you me, it's exactly how it unfolded. So 17 years later, it's a long time, but we had multiple stages of having reached a lot of people. Nothing like in the last years, which I think that's when it was destined to start to happen. But what I mean by that is 17 years ago, it's when we really started going through a deprogramming, if you will. The process that I've laid out here earlier, that's when it started to happen, or when we decided on it on a deeper level. Like, we have never been fully programmed, but that's when we started to really commit to full authenticity, meaning we were not hanging out with people that we didn't vibe with any longer. We didn't just keep up with people and other stuff that we didn't really feel connected to. We were starting to get really invested in this on a spiritual level. And so 17 years later, an incredible process. And things weren't just getting all beautiful overnight. So this is sort of what I would like to share with everyone who's watching, no matter what stage you're in. Embrace the discomfort. Usually it teaches you more than the comfort. Like, the beauty is like, when it's beautiful, it's beautiful. But when it's uncomfortable, we can see so clearly why it's uncomfortable and what bothers us and what keeps us sort of trapped. Those things are incredibly important. So I want to encourage you to not give up, not give in, not despair. It is like shedding. You're shedding everything that isn't truthful, that isn't authentic. You're shedding the lies, the half lies, the half truths. You're just shedding one layer after the other. And we're all shedding, by the way. I haven't met anyone who's arrived quite yet, but as we're shedding, our light also, emanates brighter. It touches more people. Our auras become expanded, if you will. Our field of influence becomes expanded and clean and beautiful. And it affects so many people. And I want to give you, before we talk about the Christmas experiment, I want to give you two beautiful numbers. Recently, we had a conversation with our friends, Jeffrey and Clayton, who have been consciousness researchers and sort of experts on the subject, and are also the founders of FLFE, by the way. But what they were calibrating was the rising of consciousness in our audience, so you guys, right, in our tribe, and something they call consciousness compensation. So you're going to love this. Our core audience has made a jump, a consciousness jump together, all of us, of 40 points on the consciousness map in a year on average. This is incredible. It sort of used to be this common knowledge among the consciousness community that rising a few points on that map during a lifetime was amazing. 40 points on average. The second number is called consciousness compensation. So when when the consciousness of an individual rises, that individual compensates for people on earth that have a lower level of consciousness. So it's sort of a balancing out, if you will, in the collective. Our audience, you guys, you're compensating, your higher level of consciousness is compensating for 46 million people on earth who have a lower level of consciousness and are not on their journey yet. That's under 200 on the map, if you will. 46 million is the consciousness compensation factor. That is absolutely unbelievably beautiful. And it sort of might hopefully answer the question, what effect am I having in the world? A huge one, my friend. A huge one. You're having a huge effect in the world. Think about it. Our core audience, our wonderful tribe, that means I count, all of us into that. We're compensating for 46 million people who are not on their awakening journey yet, who are still operating from lower levels of consciousness. Let's think of a nation that has 45, 46 million people, an entire nation, a big nation at that. That is incredible. And a testament to the work that we do together and the work that you all do. It's thinking it doesn't affect anything or anyone. Yes, it does, in a big way, in the biggest way possible. So I wanted to share that and sort of connect to that. For those of you who are newer in our audience, I'd like to invite you to a Christmas experiment. So I remember when Christine was still doing one-on-one coachings, that one of the busiest phone seasons of the year, meaning people texting or calling her, was the holidays. Why? Because it's usually when families that don't see each other often get together and expectations are running really high. People are, everybody has this picture perfect image of the perfect dinner and celebrations and photos and Christmas morning, all of that. And usually things can get a little sketchy and iffy and fighty, and feisty. So we want to invite you to try something that we experienced for the first time last Christmas. Last Christmas, for the first time, our home was in a permanent high consciousness field. So while before, we were always meditating, we were always doing these practices, but like any other place, consciousness level of this place was going up and down. But it was in a permanent high consciousness field because we had, for the first Christmas ever, the FLFE service activated. I can just tell you that given the very different characters that came together in this home, it was peaceful. We had fun. And even when a small conflict arose, we were able to resolve it really quickly. There was no ill feelings. It was like a lot of goodwill, greater harmony, calm. It was really, really beautiful. And so I would like to invite you to give this a try this year. And the beautiful thing is that you can do it with no strings attached. Do your own Christmas experiment. If you're hosting, if your family's coming over, or anyone for that matter, if you sign up for a free trial today, you don't need anything for that, by the way. No credit card, no subscription. It's no strings attached. If you sign up for a free FLFE trial, within a few minutes after you sign up, a high consciousness field will be activated in your home. And it will be there day and night. And you can turn it off and turn it on in the portal to experience a difference. You can activate boosts to get even higher. And more importantly, you can start observing yourself. You can start observing your family, your pets, people that come in. Even maybe the grumpy delivery driver is in a better mood as he enters your field. Now, for those of you who don't know much about FLFE, if you go to highconsciousnessfield.com or click the link in the description, you can find out more, see all the studies, see all the research. It has nothing to do with AI. There's no downloads, no devices that you need whatsoever. It works with quantum entanglement. So distance doesn't matter whatsoever. It is a high consciousness field that is activated exactly where you are. I predict that most of you who will try this and we'll spend Christmas with your family. And if you are going somewhere, you can have it activated around, let's say, your phone, and people will still be in that field and still benefit from it. I predict that you're going to have some big aha moments. Now, here's what I would do. I wouldn't tell anyone in my family about it. I wouldn't, then you have sort of bias, right? Then you have, no, do it quietly, observe what happens, and of course, set the intention for a beautiful gathering. But that is one of the most common testimonials from the hundreds, and I think over 1,000 that we've received. The harmony in the home is rising, conflict is going down, peace becomes a constant. It doesn't mean people don't fight, but everything is much smoother, easier to resolve. And that is one of the benefits, just one of the benefits of the many benefits of a high consciousness field. And it's the greatest support system we could give ourselves externally, right? That's an external support system. This is not the savior. It's not the replacement for your inner work. It supports you in that. It's not a replacement for healing. It supports your healing. It's not a replacement for prayer and meditation. It supports your prayer and meditation. But it is one of the most powerful support systems in the world today. So give yourself the Christmas gift. There's nothing you have to lose. You just sign up for the trial. They won't ask for your credit card. You won't be accidentally charged. There will not be an accidental subscription. And then you just experience it. That's it.
It's an invitation.
An invitation. That's what it is. You can accept or decline. I would invite you to accept because it's so beautiful. All right, my friends. Well, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for being on this journey, for focusing on it. And thank you for having this incredible impact on the collective. 46 million people that our beautiful community here is compensating for in the world, and compensating for their lower levels of consciousness. And I don't mean this in a derogatory way. It is just what it is. We love you. We appreciate you. And we will be back with you again very, very soon.
Right now, you could be only a few clicks away from experiencing something amazing, something that has changed thousands of lives all over the world. I'm talking about a high consciousness field similar to those at pilgrimage sites and sacred places. It's where people go to heal, to connect, and to become the best possible version of themselves. With FLFE, you can bring such a high consciousness field into your home right now. It's a spiritual quantum technology based on the work of Nikola Tesla. Better sleep, more energy, greater well-being, improved finances, electrosmog mitigation. These are only some of the things people on the FLFE service are experiencing. Try it now for 15 days completely free of charge, no credit card needed. Just click on a link down below to start your free, no strings attached FLFE trial right now.